I'm going to hit record. I'm recording right now. You have a very nice mustache. I'm very
Thank you, sir.
happy that you have that mustache. I think this is the dawn of great mustaches. And if I had a more powerful mustache, I would embrace it. My wife.
I think, let me look a little closer. Yeah, I think
God,
you
that's a
look
great
great,
mustache.
man.
If you are a drummer like me and you love home studios and you love recording and you love drums, you're going to love my friend Jake Reed. He's starting a YouTube channel, big inspiration of mine. Jake was cool enough to sit down with me and let me pick his brain on some things that I think that you would find interesting about home studios and drumming and sort of different paths that you can take. So without further ado, smash the like button and here's our conversation. Jake's a friend of mine. I met him through East West or something.
Yeah.
You came into East West, you were doing gigs, session guy, amazing drummer, phenomenal drummer, a man who stole my heart. I think the first time I really saw you play was in a rock band. That particular style of music that band played really spoke to my soul. And your style of playing extra spoke to my soul. So when I watched, or like when I would go see you guys live, I would just focus on you the whole time, and because I knew all the parts, and I was like, yes. I was like, this is like double the BPM of the record.
I know, we would play everything so fast live.
But tremendous drummer, absolutely tremendous. You play a lot of different genres, like an insane. Did you have like a mentor?
Yeah, well, I've had a few different guys over the years who have been really important mentors to me. Probably the most important one was a guy named Peter Erskine.
Big name.
Great drummer. He's been around for, since the 70s. I think I was probably drawn to his drumming because he's also really versatile, and I've always been interested in so many styles of music like he is, so
yeah.
And he lives here in LA. He was actually the reason I moved out here, was so I could study with him. And I was his teaching assistant at USC for grad school.
Wow.
So that was like 5 years of just hanging out and studying with him all the time.
What are some of the coolest gigs that you've gotten to perform on in and outside of the studio?
The first one that comes to mind is one of my really good friends is a guy named Andrew Sennewick. And he's like one of the best studio guitar guys in town.
Okay.
And a couple of years ago, he had written a bunch of his own music, which is sort of like rock, jazz, fusion inspired. The guy who played bass on Born and Raised, Sean Hurley, he was the bass player in the band. And of course I knew that, and I was like, oh my God, Sean Hurley's gonna play with us. And then another guitar player in the band, Andrew had two guitar players. It was himself and another guy named Tim Pierce.
Oh yeah.
Who's just like played on, look him up. He's amazing. Legend. But anyway, super nice guy. Everyone was super nice. And I hadn't really worked with guys of that caliber. So that was just like an incredible experience just to see how they do things, And there was actually the coolest part about the gig, and this is what I'm getting at, is because there were two drummers in the band.
Oh, wow.
It was me and a guy named Blair Senta. He's been around for quite a while and has played on a lot of great records, and he's just an amazing drummer. It was cool to see him work in the studio too. And it was like a great learning experience for me, but it was also just a really fun, just life experience to get to hang with those guys. And
But what about the session that you did with ANDREWMASTERS and Cooper?
I remember that. That was fun. I do remember that. That was in Studio 3.
Yeah, man, that was a lot of fun. A lot of snacks. My dogs were there. That was a lot of fun. That was one of my favorite, just getting the homies together. Michael Freeman helped me out.
That was a cool studio gig. I would say in terms of live gigs, I got to play with the LA Phil a few times. Got to play at the Hollywood Bowl twice.
Yeah, I saw you post something about that, or a shot or something. That's amazing.
The cool thing was, besides just playing at the Hollywood Bowl, which was sort of one of my, when I moved here, I was like, one day I want to play at the Hollywood Bowl, you know, or whatever. Because it was like sort of a Latin inspired piece that we were playing. The percussionist on it was a guy named Alex Acuna, who is just like, look him up. Again, he's like an amazing percussionist and drum set player. And I first heard him on a Weather Report album called Black Market when I was like 14 years old. So I was like, he was one of my idols from the time I was a teenager. So to get to play with him with the LA Phil at the Hollywood Bowl was sort of like a dream come true. So that was like a memorable live gig that's happened in the past couple of years.
That's incredible, man. Which genres are you hired for the most? Okay,
good question. Being that this is LA, most of the time it's pop music. Under the umbrella of pop music, I totally lump in singer-songwriter, electro pop, rock. And then beyond that, you know, I'm doing like jazz stuff. Like I'm doing a big band album in here tomorrow for a guy he just sends me the tracks. I just overdub the drums on it. The tracks he's already done the horns on. Some of it I'm kind of just playing along with MIDI tracks.
Is there one genre that you're more excited to capture and create than another genre?
That's a good question. I think every genre sort of has its own things that make it exciting to record. Playing pop music, a lot of pop producers and rock producers, they're really cool about being creative. And I think there's a lot more experimentation going on, you know, with pop music. Whereas sometimes with jazz, it's almost like codified, like the way, like, here's how you play a Sinatra style big band chart, or this is how you play like a Count Basie big band chart. And there's like a certain way that's already been established of doing that. So there's not much room for like creativity from a sonic perspective there, or from a vocabulary perspective. So that's why I think pop music is really cool, you know, because you get to be creative with sounds and overdubs, and the studio, as they say, sort of becomes the instrument itself.
The next question I wanted to ask was how you got into doing sessions as a drummer.
I basically moved here and I went to USC, so like there were other people that were just recording, so it just, you sort of fall into it, you know. That's probably how we met first, was because I went to a session with Erskine at East West, you know. Really? Like I used to shadow him on recording sessions.
Wow. I distinctly remember you guys coming in to do the Kevin thing in Studio 2, and you had Keith
Armstrong.
That's right. And that guy is amazing. Or did he mix it? Did he mix it or record it?
Both.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that record sounded ridiculous. That record sounds so good. Now I want to ask you a little bit about your home studio.
For sure.
Because the room you're in is a very small room, and you do,
it's not
like
that big. Yeah.
two drum kits. The sounds you get in that room are ridiculous. Obviously, you have phenomenal drums. You're an incredible drummer, 50%, if not more. Then you have amazing gear. What was the trickiest part about making your specific room sort of work for how you use it?
Well, the first thing is, I mean, like you said, it's a small room. And when we moved in, it wasn't really a studio. It was just sort of like a workspace down here. So the first thing is, I had a mutual friend who built studios. At the time, they weren't really that known, but they built like Dr. Dre's studio and like the Chainsmokers home studio. Like they do a lot of
nice,
you know, groups like that. So they came so they did my studio. No, but
it's really not a big deal or anything. You know Dr. Dre though?
They totally did it like on the cheap, you know, because they needed the work at the time. So they used green glue and like did double layers of sheetrock, which I'm sure a lot of your viewers know about that from your experience making your studio.
Do you own that house?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh, that's so awesome. Just made the room even smaller.
So keep the sessions rolling, guys. They did a really good job of, I shouldn't say completely soundproofing it, but the thing is, they did a good job of containing the sound in here.
Yeah.
You know, it's a pretty, like, even if I clap my hands in here,
it's very, very controlled.
Pretty dead.
Yeah.
And I have a couple doors open too. That was the first step. And they put, you'll see it in the B-roll, but there's like fabric on the walls over here. And so the second step was figuring out the best spot in my room to put the drums. Not just from like sort of Zen, like, you know, chi sort of, which way does like the energy flow best in the room with where the drums are set? But, you know.
Serious question, actually, by the way.
That is totally serious.
Vibes.
But also, where does it sound the best? So I finally settled, see if I can get out of the way here for a second.
Oh gosh,
on the
look at
corner. And I had him build a cloud above the drums.
Yep.
Which really helped out with just sort of focusing that stereo image. And there's a bass trap in the corner over there, which you'll see. And come to think of it, you've inspired me to start my own, do my own YouTube videos, longer videos. And I'm actually going to do a video that's like a proper studio tour.
Yes, thank you. I can't
so you
wait
can
to see it,
guys,
man.
anyone who's watching this can go and watch that too.
I will link to your channel, to your video when it comes out. Put it all in the description. At the end of the video, there will be a little subscribe card with your face or whatever your picture is. I found a really cool picture of you that's going to be the thumbnail of this video, so that's awesome. I've already edited it and it's ready to go.
Just to wrap up though, so I had to find a good spot in the room for it. So that was the second thing. And then the third thing about this room was figuring out how can I manipulate, how can I use my space, which is this goes for everyone. You have to figure out how to use your space to get the most out of it, right? Like, so for instance, there's a restroom over there, right? So if I need to get like a more ambient sound, I can throw a mic in there. I have a hallway right here. Sometimes I'll put a microphone down the hallway and like put it through a transient designer and just turn up the sustain. It just sounds huge. And then I have the garage right next to that. If I just put a couple mics out in the garage and leave all the doors open.
Wow. That's really cool.
Another, there's ways of doing it with the space you're in, like how can I get a big sounding drum kit in this small space? And it is possible. I mean, the thing, is it going to sound like you're in like East West 1 or 2 or whatever?
Right.
Probably not, but that's not the point anymore.
No.
Do the best you can with what you have.
When you started getting all the stuff together for your home studio, what was like what did you start with, like as far as mics and interface and stuff like that?
Good question. So I started doing this when I was in school at USC, probably a little over 10 years ago now. And I was in my apartment and I had a Digi 002.
Yes. The rack?
Yeah,
or
you
the
remember
mixer?
The giant fatty rack unit.
Yep.
And so it had like 4 mic inputs on it. I had like a 57 and like a D112. Thankfully, Erskine let me borrow a couple of condenser mics as for overheads. I think they're Bayer 703s or something like that.
The Bayer Dynamics?
Yeah, just like small diaphragm condensers. They sound good, but that's what I started with. And it was I knew nothing. And this was like right around when YouTube was starting. So there weren't like tons of tutorials out there like there are now.
Yeah.
It was literally like, ooh, this bass drum, it sounds terrible. What am I doing wrong? Like, or like, boy, the snare drum sounds awful through the microphone. Like, how can I make this like sound a little better? So yeah, I just started in my apartment at USC like 10 years ago with not a great system. Like, it was all my laptop.
Now your home studio it's just rocking.
Yeah, I would say so. I'd say it's gotten, it's definitely improved a little bit. I'm looking down at all the gear in here. This has been like 10 years in progress, and it still is in progress, trying to get better sounds, trying to get a quicker workflow happening.
Yeah. I think it's really cool that you're doing YouTube stuff, because I talk about the things that are interesting to me, but there's a lot of things that I'm interested in that I should not be talking about because I don't know the answers, and you would be the guy. That's why I tell my friends, like, start YouTube channels, because you know a bunch of stuff that I don't know. And I want to find a video of somebody that I trust explaining this thing that I don't understand to me, and you would be just slay YouTube. Dude, your videos and your playing and your recording and your setup, it's so cool. I think people will be super interested.
Well, that's going to be my goal. Like, okay, what do you do? Well, I'm a drummer, but I also like teaching, but I also like recording. I also like playing live. And I do all these different styles. And my point is, like, when I actually put out content on YouTube, it's not going to be like only one thing. It's going to be a variety of things, because that's just how I am. For instance, like tomorrow I'm doing this big band thing, and the client already has a certain sound in his head that he wants me to have. Yeah. And I already know what it is. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I already know like what he's looking for. And that's the whole thing, is like, we're in the service industry, you know?
Yeah. Everyone who's watching, go subscribe to his channel, check out his stuff. Right now there's some clips of you drumming in your spot, different sort of styles of playing and different sounds and stuff like that. That is foreshadowing what is to come, where he will explain to you how he does this madness and gets these incredible sounds.
Beautiful. I love it.
Cool, man. I'm so pumped.
Thank you.
Jake, bro, thank you for doing this video with me. Go check out Jake's channel. He just uploaded his first proper YouTube video. It's a home studio tour, so I know you guys are gonna love it. Hit the like button, leave a comment down below, go follow Jake on his journey, and thank you so much for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Yeah, if you could also just look unhappy.
I do.
Like that. I know. It's awesome. I love that so much.